We are live. We're gonna chew the fat until about 6, and then we will be talking about. I'm trying to figure out the camera. That's the camera. Um, we will be talking. I'm sorry, it's on my iPad, so I'm used to doing it on my iPhone. So the iPad's like,
Oh, you're multi-screening.
yeah,
How cool is that?
it's the future.
Ah,
Oh man.
oh, so Johnny's joined us already. Look, see.
All right. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, hold on 1 second. I had one other thing I wanted to get. It's a surprise.
Sounds expensive.
Yes. That was first my notes, and then
You're not being professional and having a script and everything.
I mean, they're just notes. I feel I didn't want to go too ranty because I know you and I could be ranty. I could be very ranty.
That's right.
And
It's your show, okay?
oh,
This is not
I appreciate that.
show. This
I've
is
had
your show.
yeah. I wanted to come prepared. I've been doing this probably for 6 years for as Sappy. So it's been a ride. But I've done the complete chaotic ones, and those aren't fun. But when it's a little more structured, you feel like, I was like, all right. Yeah. But anyway,
The tarot deck.
from Live and
Wow.
Let Die.
From Live and Let Die,
This
which was
was,
Roger Moore's first film.
yep.
And
And
I would probably suggest, if you're talking about all the Bond themes.
oh, let's not get too much into that. We're still in the previews.
Yeah. Oh, we're still on the preview.
Oh yeah, we're still in the previews. I'm sorry. I just wanted to. We're gonna be talking about this in the episode, guys. But this is just I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But what are you about to say?
You get me started now.
I was like, wait. We're still in previews.
Oh, Matthew's joined us. So hello, Matthew. So
hey,
welcome along. We are taking it as we come, guys. So welcome along, and we're just gonna. Sappy and I just decided we wanted to talk about James Bond.
Yeah. Originally, it was like it was Hitchcock and Bond, and then he's like, "We're gonna do Bond first." I'm like, "Cool." So I'm like, "That means that's gonna be an episode 2, guys." If this goes well. With Hitchcock.
The thing is, there's so much to talk about Bond.
Oh yeah.
In lots of ways, that there's no way that we could do Hitchcock as well. So I mean, I have got a few notes myself because, obviously, like I said, I am a huge Bond fan.
Oh,
but I've never done anything in my life without being. I never go into anything unprepared.
Okay.
Well, so
that goes with the territory, I feel.
Yeah. Well, and also being a writer as well, you don't just make it up as you go along.
We're both a little experienced, you would say, huh? We're not novices, we're novices to the medium, maybe, of the Substack Live.
Matthew's suggesting, how about a Bond Doctor Who crossover?
Not impossible. Not impossible in this days and age.
Quite interesting. I mean, I grew up with Doctor Who as well, so not out. John Pertwee and Tom Baker were my main doctors. So anyway, but that could be week 3, Sappy. So we could be on a roll here.
I have no knowledge of Doctor Who, so if you just let me.
Oh right.
I would say the other thing, if you would, my British knowledge, Sherlock Holmes. I am a big Sherlock Holmes fan. Very big.
We can do a Sherlock Holmes 1 week.
Oof. I'm just thinking. I'm like, there's Jeremy Brett, there's Basil Rathbone, there's Robert Downey Jr., there's the Billy Wilder one, there's the Alan Arkin.
And Dominic, of course.
Yep.
Cumberbatch. That was for me. That was the best Sherlock.
I
So
think they kind of nailed it. I didn't see series 4. I was up until 3 and I was hooked, and then I think it was a bit of a gap. The
mhm.
TV gaps have been a little obnoxious for me in my I'd say Stranger Things. Like I was so lapsed by the time I was like, I don't know. It was weird. It was an exposition scene. I think it was Max was just talking, and
Yeah,
it just like are you familiar with Red Letter Media? Their YouTube.
yeah. I haven't seen much of this stuff, but I have heard of it.
They did a thing on Star Wars where it's just like it was like let's sit on this couch, it's like the all green screen background. It's like we're gonna talk about this like right here, and it's just I don't know the way it was staged, it was framed. It seems so like heartless versus what the rest of the series was. I don't
Yeah,
know but it just tuned me out, and I was like, all right, and I get it. I've seen how movies like that end, like Harry Potter. It's everyone running at each other. It's everybody running at each other. It's I'm like, what else are we gonna do? Run.
let's
All
run
right.
at each other.
It's the most like tribal thing, though. Like you
Right?
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
we're running out of money. The producers are shouting at us. So how do we end this film? I know. Let's
Monty
run at everyone.
Monty Python. I think I like that where they just end the movie. It's
Yeah.
the budget. They're like, it's done. You're like, oh.
We will do what we will do is because I'm a huge Python fan.
Oh boy.
So we will do a Monty Python set as well. So we got
Terry
about
Gilliam.
5 shows coming up, mate.
Okay. All right. Of the Pythons, my most knowledge is of Terry Gilliam as a filmmaker. Very
Yep.
controversial with his comments often, but he is a wonderful filmmaker with
He was magical in
still
the
is.
formation.
Still is. I just think
Very very clever guy.
His attitude, you could say sometimes,
Yeah.
could be a little negative.
Matthew's saying I'm into glitch animated series on YouTube like Murder Drones and the Amazing
Glitch.
Digital Circus.
Glitch.
I don't say I've seen that. But...
Glitch. That sounds like a cool name for a show.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
We are coming up on 6 o'clock. I'm one for being on time.
I'm British, so we're always on time.
Yeah, I've worked at places. I'm like, well, we're gonna go based on the stock market, 9 a.m. means 9 a.m.
Yeah, ring the bell.
Yep, you understand. Oh, there's so many fun connections. I am looking forward to. Just because Bond can connect to a lot of my favorite things. I just showed you tarot, wrestling, music.
Well, I was gonna because I know you're a wrestling fan, so I've got a trivia question for you, which I know you will know the answer to.
I have a feeling it's from number 5. If we're talking about EON production, I'm a dork, but we will see. All right,
no,
it is 6 o'clock.
This will be later on. You crack on.
All right, 6 o'clock. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sappy Stories. I am here with our guest, Andrew. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Everybody.
From 11 o'clock in the United Kingdom. So,
Maddox is commenting.
Maddox is in. Hi, Maddox.
You think you're important. You think you're smart, don't you, huh?
Yeah.
Maddox is a big fan of The Dark Knight, the opening scene because of Willem Fichtner. Like, he loves that scene. I'm like, of everything? Yeah, Fichtner. He's like, give me my Fichtner. I'm like, oh, okay. What do you believe in, huh? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. What do you believe in? What do you believe in?
And then I believe whatever.
Maddox, you're supposed to be on holiday or something, taking time off.
I think he's just glad he gets to watch. You and your friends are dead. Yep, he's quoting The Dark Knight, 2008. Good movie. It is crazy that a few days ago it was 18 years ago or 19?
Something like that.
Passes by. Anyway, today we are talking about James Bond, as well as all the stories that go along with him. Yeah, but James Bond's going to be our highlight. We connected on Maddox's program. Yes, he's away on business. He's a talking head in this one. I don't know if you're familiar with Videodrome, but I've made comparisons to Maddox as Dr. Oblivion. He only shows up He shows up on Video Screen. Videodrome is a Canadian exploitation film which features James Woods and Deborah Harry, two people in a lovemaking scene that you would never think would be in a lovemaking scene together.
Very, very unusual.
That's my takeaway from that movie. Not that, and the fact when I first got it, it was the Criterion DVD at a place called Movie Stop. Think a GameStop, but for Movie Stop that didn't last that long. I bring it to the register. The guy at the register looks at it. This is one fucked up movie. I was like, all right. I'm in for a good night tonight. I had no idea. I was like, all right. But anyway, we will be talking about Bond. Your first experiences with James Bond, or how did you get into it? And let me know.
I read the book.
Okay.
As a kid.
When? Okay.
Well, the thing is basically because I was born in the 60s. I started watching Bond very early. Because it was within a couple of years of it being in cinemas, it would be out on TV screens. So I got into Bond quite early because my dad was a bit of a fan as well. And it was always considered okay. It wasn't too violent.
Yeah.
And we as kids, we all wanted to be James Bond. We all, we'd watch it as kids. But I read Casino Royale, very quite early, and just loved it. And then I saw the original film, the '67 film, which was David Niven and Peter Sellers.
And it was too
dire. It was dreadful. They absolutely destroyed the film. But then, of course, that led to a whole series of legal arguments and what have you. And so Broccoli could launch with anything else except that one, because Fleming, rightly so, Fleming basically was a struggling author. Well, not a struggling author, but certainly, he was an author. Somebody comes along and offers you a film deal, you're going to take it. Of course you are. So he gave up the rights to Casino Royale, and they destroyed it. Absolutely destroyed it. Turned into a comedy, and it was just nonsense. And so of course it took them 40 odd years for them to be able to use it, to get the rights to actually use it. But we'll come on to that. I'm sure. But I think what gets me about Bond, and particularly since sort of around 2016, 2017, when all the Churchill documents, the private files, the MI5 files from the war were starting to be released. And you learned a lot more about Ian Fleming. We all knew he was part of military intelligence during the war, but nobody really knew because it was all classified. And then, of course, they started to release the documents in the sort of, like I say, sort of 2016 onwards. And his name kept cropping up in the documents. And he was actually quite heavily involved in a lot of although he wasn't directly on the SOE, he was heavily involved with the SOE, which was the Special Operations Executive, or Churchill's private army. And he was part of the team. He was number 2, if you like, on the division that were part of what was known as the Double Cross Committee. And the Double Cross Committee were their sole purpose. Churchill instructed them to come up with every possible way of disrupting the Nazis. Come up with every possible scheme. Doesn't matter how ridiculous, how stupid or whatever, we need to explore these. And Fleming was part of that team. And he worked for an admiral there. And this comes down where the character M comes from. He actually, he used to call his mother M, for obvious reasons, because apparently she was a right old battle axe. And he used to call her M. Then he started working for this guy, and he started calling him M as well. And so this rear admiral who was running the whole Navy intelligence, he used to call him M, and that's where M came from. And obviously it stuck for the books and what have you. But he was heavily involved in Operation Mincemeat, which has been put on the cinema, and also the League of Extraordinary Ungentlemanly Warfare, the League of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I don't know if you've seen that film. That came out quite recently. Both of those are based on actual real life events, and the actual there has been obviously edited and for cinema purposes, but they are true to the actual stories, and Fleming pops up in both of those movies separately. So he was a lot of this is where a lot of his inspiration came from for writing or creating James Bond and the books. Was from his actual a lot of these very, very secret missions that happened in World War II. And there was some debate over where the 007 came from. The strongest indicator was that Fleming used to go and he was too important to allow to do any frontline missions. The ministry wouldn't, because he was just too valuable. He knew too much, and if the Germans got hold of him, obviously he could and they got the information out of him, it could be quite dangerous. But he basically used to do a lot of he used to go to like Madrid and in a lot of the sort of neutral type areas, and meet up with various double agents and what have you. And apparently there was a hotel room that he met a double agent in, and then on the door was 007. And that's apparently, don't know for sure, but as far as we know, that's the most sort of legitimate way of that he came up with 007. But the character 007 is actually not just based on one person. It's based on a mishmash of people for a special operations team that he set up. And he picked some really, really clever people. And Bond was sort of an amalgamation of all those people. But that's why I've said a lot of the stories that came out in the Bond books are all based on some sort of historical fact, and then dramatized. So I just find, and sometimes real life is more fascinating than anything you could ever make up.
Oh yeah.
Because the one thing we as the British were very good at is deception. Basically, like for D-Day, for example, everyone knew who was the general that they would lead that. Well, it's got to be Patton, isn't it? We knew they would say Patton. So what we do, we put Patton in the southeast of England, and we created a whole fake army around him, made out of inflatable tanks, literally thousands of inflatable tanks put in a field, ready to go across the channel. So the Germans thought, to Calais. So of course they concentrated all their defense around Calais, because that was the most logical thing, because that's where Patton was going to be. And of course we hit them in Normandy instead. So that's the thing is, basically the British are very good at deception. And that's why a lot of the sort of Bond stuff is based on something that happened in real life, believe it or not.
Yeah. Do you have do you
I'm
have
rambling.
No, it's okay. I that's why you're here. Do you have a favorite of Bond movie? It could be
without a doubt. I mean, I've got a least favorite Bond film.
I got mine right here. That's on my notes.
I've got a least favorite Bond film,
as well.
and I've got and I got an absolute favorite.
I want to hear both.
Which one do you want first?
Let's go with the least favorite.
Least favorite, Moonraker.
Ooh.
Moonraker was just so far out there. I mean, it was also going through with Roger Moore. It was the camp phase, is the only way to describe it. It was just each film was all but more about comedy than it was about spycraft.
Okay.
And each film was getting more and more ridiculous. Okay. And although Moonraker, the actual book Moonraker, is nowhere, near what the film was. But Moonraker was actually, he wrote that, 1960 something. So of course, by the time they actually turned it into a film, they obviously significantly changed it, but it was just nonsense.
Fun fact about that movie is Steven Spielberg wanted to direct a Bond movie. They kept refusing him, but they let him use the da-na-na-na. They asked Steven Spielberg for the rights to that sound. And then he's like, "Hey, could I direct a Bond movie?" No, but thanks for the rights. I just thought that was...
it would be great to have Spielberg do a Bond movie. That would have been awesome.
That's why he did Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is his Bond. The white tux with the red rose. I see Goldfinger, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
All right. What about your favorite?
Well, the other thing, the only saving grace for Moonraker. Was the name of the girl, the main Bond girl in that film, Holly Goodhead.
Oh, I like the song by Shirley Bassey. They brought her back. That was her only Roger Moore.
Shirley Bassey, but the actual film itself was nonsense. But anyway, that's Moonraker.
I saw as a kid, so I like it, and I will get more into why I like it later. But I'll tell you my worst. Do you want to hear my worst?
Yeah. What's your worst?
My worst, absolutely. Number lowest. Diamonds Are Forever. I hate that movie.
Really?
It's the camp for Roger Moore always worked because he was consistently camp. Even You Only Live Twice was a little out of Moore's Connery's realm.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still somewhat grounded, somewhat in reality. Just Diamonds Are Forever is such a piss poor follow up to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is probably in my top 5 or maybe 6. And it just upsets me because when the movie starts, he's like, "Where is Blofeld?" It's like, nobody told Sean Connery that his wife was just murdered. He just seems angry. It's just like, yeah, this guy took your lunch money. Oh yeah? Let's go get this Blofeld character, And we go from Donald Pleasance being Blofeld to Telly Savalas, and then I forgot the guy's name, but he's probably best known for Rocky Horror Picture Show. And not that he did a bad job, but the movie, it's in Vegas, which I thought's kind of cool. That's a nice location, and I like the song. It's just, the movie seemed like watching Austin Powers, but it wasn't Austin Powers. It took it that, say what you want about Moonraker, the villain, there's no part in the movie where he's like, "My whole plan is right here in that tape." And then I think he hits the eject button, and then the tape falls down, and he's like, "Pick that up." What? What? I mean, it was very camp. Roger Moore, I liked Roger Moore's camp, but Sean Connery in camp was just like, what do they do? Especially after On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Because I love Tracy Bond. I love... Spoiler. I love that movie. And even the story of the guy who directed the movie, I think Peter Hunt, he was an editor on every single movie since the beginning, and then he also was a second unit director. So he had been watching every single one, and when he attacked it, he's like, "All right." And
now we're doing it proper.
And Lazenby did a decent job. It's and Telly Savalas was incredible.
You know the story behind Lazenby, don't you?
Not.
He was not an actor.
No, I know that he was an actor.
Yeah,
he was a model.
He was a model. He was an Australian model. And he walked into
Fry's Chocolate Cream. I have. That was the advertisement. I think they said
he walked in and he talked. He went to Sean Connery's tailor on Savile Row, got himself the same suit as Sean Connery, walked into Eon, and talked Broccoli into giving him he literally lied to Broccoli that he was an actor and all this sort of stuff. And Broccoli gave him a chance. And to be fair, he did I got to say, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is one of the better Bond films.
Oh yeah,
certainly is one of the better Bond. And musically too. In lots of ways, and also the story as well. Basically, spoiler alert, basically losing his wife at the very end.
Which makes Diamonds Are Forever so,
Well, not only that, but it's not until I think it might have been Roger Moore's first movie where it opens with him at her graveside.
No, that's For Your Eyes Only.
It was a
little bit later because I think the Blofeld rights were complicated due to the Thunderball being based off a screenplay that Fleming had worked on with someone else. So I think they alluded that was Blofeld. But yes, I do remember. It was 1981.
But
that'll be my second least favorite for being forgettable.
The Live and Let Die was Roger Moore's first one. Exactly. There were some good parts in it, and then there was some. Come on, guys, really? Like running across the alligators and the crocodiles. Oh, fuck off!
But they did have an actor do that. They did have somebody do that. But that's. But
it's like, fuck off.
So that I'm just gonna say, Live and Let Die is not your favorite movie. All right, what's your favorite? Bond?
I got to say, I was going to say On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh, really? That's your favorite?
No. It's one of my favorites. Oh, okay. But where it was shot, that big in the top of the Alps where they had this big that big dome building. I went skiing there. Ooh. And basically I went and had it's in Switzerland, it's on the glacier, and it is essentially a cafe and restaurant and hotel and for the whole glacier skiing. And so I literally went there and basically just to say, I've been to this place. But the thing was Lazenby did a good job. He was offered the next two films, Diamonds Are Forever and what was the other one?
Live and Let Die.
No, there was another one. There was two. It was two more Connerys. Hang on a minute. There was
Diamonds Are Forever,
Never Say Never Again, and Diamonds Are Forever. Those were the two. But so Sean Connery stopped doing it. Lazenby done On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then he was offered Diamonds Are Forever and Never Say Never Again, and he turned it down because he didn't think Bond was going to last much longer. So like a fool, he only did one film.
Yeah.
And so they brought Connery back to do the next two because Roger Moore was still finishing The Persuaders and The Saint.
Right.
And so he wasn't available to take on. So Connery was persuaded to come back and do the next two. And then Roger Moore took over for Live and Let Die. So, I got to say, like I say, I think Lazenby was a half decent Bond. He was different, obviously, to Connery, but Connery made it his own to start with. But only in that time period. It was the height of the Cold War. He was very much flavor of the month in terms of being the right person, the right time doing the job. And it just all ticked the boxes. But when he came back after Lazenby, people were saying, hang on a minute, we don't particularly like this guy anymore.
Yeah.
For this role.
Right.
And he went off and done other things and obviously had a fantastic career and what have you. And he's a brilliant actor. But his time at Bond had finished. And then, of course, Roger Moore came in. in terms of what's your favorite theme song? If you've got one.
No, I was listening to the soundtrack today. I was like, all right. I was trying to think of one that I could limit it to. But Tina Turner, GoldenEye, I like that one.
Yeah,
I like
GoldenEye, yeah.
Duran Duran, A View to a Kill.
Yeah.
I like All Time High that's Octopussy. Like Nobody Does It Better for Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yeah.
Spy Who Loved Me. Spy Who Shagged Me is Austin Powers.
Yeah,
As you
that's
can
right.
tell,
Yeah, baby.
I'd rather have Austin Powers be Austin Powers because that Diamonds Are Forever is Austin Powers with Sean Connery in your official Bond canon, which is like, I don't know if I want that. Even Roger Moore in Moonraker, I feels like is better just because the whole Tracy Bond situation. That's just the nail. I'm like, come on, and that's one of the reasons I favor towards the Daniel Craig ones, because Quantum of Solace is an appropriate reaction to Casino Royale, based on how he was feeling. Like he was in a very emotional Bond, where I feel like it's more of a coda, versus it's like maybe Casino Royale then Skyfall. But Quantum of Solace is like that little side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Skyfall's a good theme song.
Oh yeah, that one. I do like, and I like the music, the musicians, like Louis Armstrong being in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'm like, that's just like the legend of just music in general. Like, I think that's so cool. As well as they had Nancy Sinatra, Tom Jones. So I was like, just who they got. Sometimes I liked who they got better than the songs, but yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, out of all the songs, Live and Let Die, Paul McCartney, is by far there's something about that is incredibly Bond. But it stood the test of time as well. It doesn't sound dated. And I heard somebody did it, I think it was on The Voice or something like that, and it was just blew me away. Because it is such a powerful theme tune. Definitely.
It's I would put that in my top favorite movies, especially for Roger Moore. Roger Moore, my top two would be Live and Let Die and The Spy Who Loved Me. I have an affinity to A View to a Kill because Christopher Walken on the song, but it's Roger Moore's stunt doubles do all the work in that movie. And like, I think when they go to, I forget, it was like a public records building, and it's like, it looks like Roger Moore is like going up the steps, and I'm like, this is not a good look for Bond. I don't know, just the way it was like, it's.
I mean, out of the Roger Moore films, I think probably for me, For Your Eyes Only. But I think it was probably more for the Bond girl, who was a French actress, but she had this amazing long black dark hair. She was incredible. I'll tell you her name if you like. Carol Bouquet.
Okay, that's the movie. I remember Greeks, and then there was The White Dove. But that movie I always forget about. Almost, there's nothing I really remember about it. I like it.
It's memorable because of her.
Yeah, that's.
And there's a couple of things. I'm big on continuity errors, right?
Okay.
And for no reason whatsoever, when they were diving, they left a tank down there, down at the bottom, underneath the ocean.
That's the one with Blofeld in the beginning too, I think. Yeah. For Your Eyes Only. Okay.
And then basically, so they then go up on one tank, and it's like, why the hell did you do that? And then later on in the movie, oh, surprise, surprise, they need a tank of air. I know, I left one earlier over here by these ruins. Oh, really? Did you think that? And it's just that's, to me, is poor storytelling.
Yeah. All right.
But apart from that, I think I did like For Your Eyes Only. That was quite a good one. My favorite film, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Casino Royale.
That was my favorite. That's what I was gonna say.
For
10
lots
out
of
of
different
10.
reasons. My
Okay,
favorite,
you go first.
I followed Bond from Days of Doctor No all the way through.
Okay.
I've seen every film multiple times. And you go through all the Bonds. Roger Moore, very camp, all humor, comedy, and it's but he was never really Bond.
Yeah.
Not in the way Ian Fleming designed Bond.
He was James Bond, not Sean Connery is James Bond. I get it.
But then you had Lazenby, who was a reasonable Bond. You had Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, who was actually a stand-in, because they actually wanted what's his face?
Sam Neill, wasn't it? Oh, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
They wanted Pierce Brosnan, but Pierce Brosnan was doing
Remington
Steele.
Steel.
And so he wasn't available. So they called Timothy Dalton as a second choice, and he said, "Well, I'm a Shakespeare actor. What the hell do you want me to do Bond?" And they talked him into doing it for the two films whilst Brosnan was finishing up with Remington Steele. And actually, after having the Joker of Roger Moore, he was probably ultra serious, but he was probably closer to what Fleming had designed Bond to be.
I like Bond.
But then Pierce Brosnan came along. I think Pierce Brosnan done a really good job. I think Pierce Brosnan was a good Bond. He had the right sort of blend of the sort of one-line quips and what have you. And he was, very much in Sean Connery type mold, but more accomplished. So the Brosnan film, the Pierce Brosnan films were very good. But then we got to Daniel Craig, who, when the funny thing is, everyone was sort of, basically Daniel Craig as Bond, and I thought, actually, yeah, I could see it. But a lot of people were sort of and ahhing. And I went to the cinema to watch Casino Royale because it had been a little while between Bond films. And because they took it back to the beginning, so it was more like this was a complete reboot. It really, really worked. And I got to say, I think he's without doubt the closest thing to the Bond that I read in the books. He was emotional. The stories had much more emotion to it. And Casino Royale, I've never been. This blew me away. I was in the cinema. I had my second wife at the time, and we had a group of friends with us, some guys and girls and what have you. And we were watching the film in the cinema together. And at the point, spoiler alert, at the point that that James Bond rolls the Aston Martin, every guy in the cinema, got up out of his chair and went, "No!" because of it was an Aston Martin DBS. And every petrol head in the cinema just couldn't believe that they wrote off an Aston Martin DBS. And it was so well shot and what have you. Mm-hmm. But it was doesn't matter, kill people, whatever, no emotion in any of the guys. Destroy a beautiful looking car and the whole place went off like a riot. It was incredible. But I got to say, they nailed it in so many different ways, and Craig nailed it in so many different ways. And, if you're talking about Bond girls, Vesper Lynn, what was her name? Green.
Eva Green.
Eva Green.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, she was gorgeous.
All-time
and it's like she sat down on that train. She said, "I'm the money." And he went, "Every penny of it." But she was in that film, for years, Bond treated women like objects. In Casino Royale, she was his equal.
Yeah.
And she, not only did she, match him in terms of in screen time and what have you, but she saved Bond's life in that film. And then obviously there was the deep emotional connection. And I got to say, seeing what happened to Vesper in that film, it was heart wrenching stuff. It was so well written, so well directed, so well shot, and so well acted. And when you got to the end, you've been on a real emotional roller coaster ride. For the first time in a Bond movie, it felt real. And you actually felt it. You weren't just sat there, take your brain out and be entertained with a load of gadgets and cars and all that sort of stuff. It actually made you feel. That's what I felt. And so Casino Royale, I mean, Quantum of Solace, nonsense. But Casino Royale, without a doubt, is the best Bond film of all time, in my view.
I could bounce off
what
that.
You think?
Oh no, that was my pick for my favorite. I feel like one of the things you said, Quantum of Solace, where I'd say that I'd see it more as a footnote in a not as a bad way, but that was what I wanted out of Diamonds Are Forever in terms of how mad I would be if Vesper Lynd died. Just like, yeah, I would. I'm like, because Casino Royale ends and then Quantum of Solace, it's not over. Like Casino Royale just stops right in the middle. So, if anything, it's kind of like an act two or like one of those two-part movies. I'd say.
I did like the way that with Daniel Craig they did link the movies together. There was a backstory.
That was my favorite, was the continuity between the films, and they threw Blofeld in there, and I was like, you know what, it's Christoph Waltz, but based on
and
where
what a good job he did.
Oh, he was good.
But this is where I said I'll promise the trivia question. Okay, which WWE wrestler appeared in a Bond movie?
Dave Bautista showed up in Spectre.
Dave Bautista in Spectre, yeah.
But fun fact.
Go on.
What legendary figure related to one of the biggest celebrities ever was a stuntman in one of the Bond movies? I'll give you the name who he's related to. It's related to The Rock. Rock's grandfather, who was a very legendary
Rocky
figure.
Maivia. Wasn't it Rocky Maivia?
Rocky Maivia was The Rock, but his grandpa was Peter Maivia, and Peter Maivia was in You Only Live Twice. And he actually, I thought that's where I thought you were going with the trivia.
No.
I'm like,
I was going to give you a nice easy one.
You gave me a very easy one. I was like, oh, Dave Bautista. Yeah, I know.
Oh, Zara's joined us. Hi, Zara. How you doing?
Hey.
Yeah.
That was one of those choices. Well, yeah, he had to run.
He had to run. Maddox had to run.
But yeah, everything you said on Casino Royale, I agree with. Vesper is why I was heartbroken. It felt the casino atmosphere. Mads Mikkelsen is one of my favorite actors. So this was my introduction to him. I'm just upset.
And the classic line in Casino Royale, when he's torturing with the ball, he's laughing at him, saying everyone's gonna know you're gonna die scratching my balls.
Yeah, great line. I'm upset it took me until after Skyfall came out to see that, because I was my intro to Bond was GoldenEye as the video game, and then I was curious, HBO or whatever showed it, so we watched, and then I went to Live and Let Die. But for the Brosnan movies, if I want to give a quick overview of what I think of the franchise, I think the Connery movies are pretty good. At least they seem to have a continuity with, if you end at You Only Live Twice and just forget everything else. I did like it. It was building on what they did, and it was low budget, gaining a budget every year. And I would say it's like a 60s franchise. I was like, cool. I like the Lazenby movie. We spoke of that. The Roger Moore franchise, I would say, is just the 1970s, 80s. This is where Bond became more like, oof, it's bad when you touch your face. Became like the Flintstones, like just a character that, and it adapts with the times, or even Batman with the 1960s show. Roger Moore was that time period, but it seems appropriate, and they did cool stunts, but Roger Moore seemed appropriate for that time. I think Timothy Dalton did a great job. I remember they said Sam Neill was also up, because Sam Neill recently passed, but he was considered for the role. Pierce Brosnan, I think, is probably my favorite aesthetic Bond. It's just he has Goldeneye and then 3 bleh movies. Tomorrow Never Dies is okay. I'll give that. That's decent. But Die Another Day, I think, is probably my bottom 2. That Diamonds Are Forever. World Is Not Enough is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
Goldeneye,
know what you mean.
Goldeneye is awesome. I think just because
Go.
006 is a great Bond villain. Because
Yeah.
the Bond movies need a good Bond villain. They need
Well,
a
it was
good
Sean. It was
Bond
Sean.
girl.
It was Sean
Bean.
Bean,
Yep.
who's obviously a massive actor. He for years he was Richard Sharp for us, and so he's a very well-known English actor, very very good English actor. But
And
yeah,
at
no,
that
I
point,
understand exactly. But
he was like a contemporary.
Another interesting. Where does Goldeneye come from?
It comes from Ian Fleming's house in Jamaica.
Correct. He never actually wrote a book. You see, the thing is, Octopussy, for example, and one other film which will come to me shortly were actually short stories.
I love me.
Living Daylights.
Living Daylights.
Living Daylights and Octopussy were short stories. They weren't actual full novels. But yeah, so they done Goldeneye as a sort of tip to the hat for Fleming.
And then Skyfall, I feel like, was a nod to the nod. Skyfall being the name of the house, right? I thought that was kind of a cool nod.
Yeah.
Skyfall was different, yeah.
I gotta say, I think, but as Bond, all of them were good entertainment.
Oh, absolutely.
But I gotta say, I think once Daniel Craig took over, it became Bond. And I've lived through all the Bonds. And everyone says, "Oh, it should all be Sean Connery," and then you had the Roger Moore fans and what have you, and what have you. But for me, Daniel Craig was he was serious, but he could be funny as well. He looked and sounded like James Bond, and he had the same emotional turmoil as James Bond. And also, when he went to the bar and they said, "Do you want it shaken or stirred?" He said, "Do I look like I care?" And he came at he was properly British, properly he was ex-special forces type. Because he wasn't, what used to annoy me about Bond, particularly Roger Moore, and to a certain degree Sean Connery, is it was always written into the script, they knew everything about everything. Like in Octopussy, basically with the Fabergé egg. And Roger Moore knows the history of everything to do with Fabergé eggs.
Tell me, Bond, what do you know?
And it's literally everything, whether it be port, cigars, wine, champagne, everything to do with anything, art,
he's the
jewelry,
exposition,
everything.
Okay?
They knew
he's
everything.
Exposition. James Bond is being used as exposition very brilliantly. That's why Roger Moore was so good. What's a Fabergé? Well, Minister, this is
exactly, and it's that used to really annoy us. Whereas when you got to Daniel Craig, there was none of that nonsense. He was every bit a secret agent, and he was a secret agent who fell in love, wanted to get out of the service. Spoiler alert: obviously, she died in the movie.
Quantum of Solace.
So then he gets shot on the top of a train. So he's not bulletproof after all.
Skyfall.
and then shot by Moneypenny, which it was
A
just
nice little
so
twist.
it was
Oh,
just
that
so good. Um,
Skyfall was good. That's where he became Bond, you know, like, I would say, Batman Begins, or if it was like a trilogy, it would definitely be Bond, and then Quantum of Solace is kinda still the first one,
yeah,
and then Skyfall is where he fully becomes it, then you see that in Spectre, and then No Time to Die is he's the full Bond
yeah,
because he
I think
develops.
No Time to Die was a great film.
Yeah, I like the whole
Um,
franchise, I'll
I
stand
didn't,
behind it.
I, I didn't like the ending of killing Bond to
Spoiler,
then turn around to say James. Yeah, spoiler alert.
spoiler.
Um, turn around to then say James Bond will return. And it's like,
I
I,
think I that's what I wanted to ask you. Did you think that of the original 20, we'll say pre Daniel Craig, because I think Daniel Craig establishes its own continuity where they make a lot of references in, I think, even up till the Brosnan movies to previous like movies like Live and Let
mhm.
Die. Do you think the canon of or the theory that James Bond's like a title in 007, it's like 007 is just James Bond. That's kind of a code name based on these secret things, and even going what you said with Ian Fleming's original James Bond's a bunch of different people, so it's just Sean Connery brought out that side of him. Roger Moore was just very good at being that flirt side, probably to the point where it's just like I'm like you got to count how long it takes him to make a sexual joke, or he's in bed like the View to Kill. He's just laying there waiting for Grace. Uh,
But that was
honestly,
Roger Moore.
yeah. And
That
this is Roger Moore in 1985, where it's just like, I'm Roger. I think you're in your 50s. Do you really think you should be seducing a musician, like a rock? And then it works. And then Christopher Walken's just like, yeah, just take my girlfriend. Like, wait, what? What? It's a very bizarre scene. It's a very
yeah.
bizarre movie. The 80s were great, people.
Well, it was
It's
quite. It was a funny time. The 80s.
1985. That's the
Yeah.
other thing I love about the Bond franchise is for film history and music history, you plug in Bond and different movies at the time, like 1967 when the first Casino Royale came out, or the
Yeah.
second. The first one was a TV movie in the 50s, which nobody cared, but the theatrical, it came out against You Only Live Twice, two Bonds in the theater.
Mhm.
And that would happen again in 1983 with Octopussy and Never Say Never, which
Which was a
Connery.
dreadful film.
Yeah, it was. It was a remake of Thunderball. It was a cash
Exactly.
grab.
So
It,
it was just a ridiculous because it was nothing to do with Broccoli or Eon, and
nope.
purely it was just Sean Connery
It,
on basically getting on a payday.
he almost went
Um,
toe to toe with Roger Moore, so it's just
yeah.
that was a very must have been an interesting year to be alive. I love the '80s in terms of like music and
Oh,
movie,
in
especially
terms of movies, there's so many great movies came out in the 80s. It was a defining time, and obviously, like in '79 we had Alien
hmm
came out, and which was like the scariest things since scary things were invented.
yeah,
Um, and and then in the 80s we had Terminator. We had basically Aliens, and then
Alien, yeah,
Aliens 3.
yep, yep, James
um,
Cameron.
and the Star Trek movies, and there was a whole host of new films because obviously technology had moved on so much, and there was
And
just this
Bond's place in them changed. That's the thing. The
but
'80s,
exactly,
especially through the '70s, the '60s and '70s was easier for him to dominate.
yeah,
And he did dominate with those special effects hold up from those '70s movies, like when Roger
yeah,
Moore jumps off or his stunt double jumps off a cliff. He just jumped off a cliff. That's why when you see Christopher Nolan kind of bring back those filmmaking techniques, which Christopher Nolan IMAX Bond movie. That's how here's the deal. Amazon has a lot of money, so if they build 5 IMAX theaters and 5 IMAX cameras for Christopher Nolan, they have the money to do it,
yeah,
or they just
do
ask
it.
Elon Musk for just one new IMAX from start to finish, and then he will make the world's first IMAX Bond movie. Ah, I would be first in line. And if he
It's
put
going to be
Idris
interesting.
Elba,
It's
put
going to be
Idris Elba,
interesting. It's
I
going to be
would love.
interesting what they're going to do with Bond.
I think
Um,
I'm surprised they didn't do more like TV series, because like, or if I had a crazy, if they did like Spider-Man or the Bond verse, where you see Roger Moore, Sean Connery, they all interact with each other, do some sort of.
I I
It would
think
be very corny, but it would be
I don't think, because he's predominantly British. I don't think the British audience would
I know.
would
It sounds
accept
like it
it.
would be a terrible idea.
It would be worse than being beaten by Argentina in the semi-final of the World Cup, and that's caused uproar.
Oh,
So I think that because Bond is actually an institution,
yes.
and he's an important part of British culture, for good and for bad. But he's been with us for 50, 60 years or whatever it is. And so, to suddenly go and do full Hollywood on it just wouldn't work. I think there would be a revolution.
You don't know Amazon,
But
right?
it's like I can't see if there was talk that they were going to bring back, instead of James Bond, it'd be Jane Bond. Well, they sort of experimented. You were talking about is it James Bond 007 and what have you? Well, they experimented obviously in No Time to Die, because if you remember, he wasn't 007 at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, I
It
remember.
was the girl who was the new 007. And they experimented it, and apparently it was not well received in certain circles, and strongly worded letters were sent,
Yeah.
because it just didn't seem right. So they have played with the idea of maybe having a female James Bond, a Jane Bond.
Well, I think just a different or like a TV series of James Bond like growing up like in the academy. Like that's kind of usually like a young Indiana Jones or something like that. I'm surprised they didn't do that just based on having the franchise, cuz they own the rights. I know the movie will always be sacred. I feel that should be always
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is I don't think they're done with the movies yet. It's just who is going to be. I think, again, because Bond is very, very much actor driven.
Oh yeah.
And I think probably, I mean, there's been a few names touted, but he has to be. They're very specific. It has to have a certain look and, basically be a certain age. That's the thing. They don't want old Bonds. Idris Elba would have been a good Bond, but he's too old now.
Yeah.
And there's been loads of people that should have been Bond. That there was an actor called Lewis Collins, in the 80s, and he was big in a television program over here called The Professionals. And everyone said before Timothy Dalton got it, Lewis Collins should be the next Bond, and that the press were all over it. Bookies were wouldn't take bets on it because he was so hot to be the next James Bond, and they gave it to Timothy Dalton. And again, there was uproar about that because Lewis Collins should have been. He did, instead of doing James Bond, he'd done Who Dares Wins, the film about the SAS. If you remember, in 1980, the SAS stormed the Iranian embassy in London. Check it out on YouTube. It was when the SAS first officially revealed themselves to the nation, because it was the first time the SAS had been caught by news cameras as it happened live. And so Who Dares Wins was a film that was based on that operation. And Lewis Collins was a starring role in that, instead of taking the James Bond role, because he'd obviously they'd given it to Timothy Dalton at the time. So there's a lot of worthy actors who should have been James Bond who didn't qualify for whatever reason. And so, like Idris Elba would have been a really good James Bond, but he's too old now. Because they need somebody that's going to be around for the next sort of 5 or 6 films. So you're probably talking about 10 years.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to be looking for somebody late, mid 30s to late 30s tops, to be able to carry the franchise for the next 10 years. Now, what direction it's going to go, who knows? But it's been a while now, so we haven't heard anything, because it's Amazon obviously now got control of it.
Well, they have control over it, but I think they still have to deal with Broccoli and Wilson.
Oh yeah, because
thankfully,
yeah, Barbara Broccoli will not give it up.
Good.
Good for her. She is the staunch defender of, she keeps Bond.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't think she will. And that's why you haven't had your TV series and what have you.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the beginning of the teaser, one of the most important movies in my journey for Bond, because I think it was GoldenEye, because the video game actually had Baron Samedi and had the gun from the Man with the Golden Gun. So it had references to previous Bond movies, which I was like, well, this is where I'll start. Live and Let Die. I really like the introduction of Roger Moore. It's really seamless. I like the 70s nature, the exploitation aspect that they're going for. I like the
And it had
Bond
Jane
sequence.
Seymour.
It did have Jane Seymour.
And Jane Seymour, who was at the time, she was everyone's heartthrob.
Yeah.
At that time, she'd just come off the back of doing Battlestar Galactica, the film.
And Solitaire, she had the cards, except they're red in the movie, but for the 70s version that I paid for, they're blue, and then they did a re-release. Yeah, but they actually were blue. The re-release, they did do a re-release with red, but are you a fan of King Crimson at all?
I know King Crimson. It's not my thing. I'm a Pink Floyd fan.
Well, King Crimson does a lot of live albums, but the artist that did these cards also did some of their live albums, which I like his art. So I was like, oh, and I just knew that. I'm like, why do I know it? From Live and Let Die. I know it from Live and Let Die. And the song, I was a big Beatles fan, and then I didn't know like the chronology, and then to find out there was a whole nother band with Paul McCartney. I'm like, wait, what? And then
that Wings. Basically it was obviously it was the Beatles, then Paul McCartney and Wings, and then obviously all his solo stuff. Yeah, so
I love that song too. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, like I say, it's still that is the best Bond theme for me.
It is. It's by a Beatle too. And fun facts. I did some homework. So John Barry did the score for pretty much every movie from Dr. No up until I think The Living Daylights, with the exception of Live and Let Die.
All right.
They had George Martin, the Beatles producer, actually do the score.
That was obviously McCartney's saying.
Exactly, but that's just like, John Barry. It's kind of like that outlier. I don't know if you like Tim Burton at all. Tim Burton's movies are almost always scored by Danny Elfman, and then there's this one movie where there's a break, and then I looked into the history where they had an argument, but it's not that movie, the score would have been any better or worse. It was perfect, but I was like, Same thing with Hitchcock and Bernard Herrmann, which we will have to talk about next time. But
we'll talk about that next time, definitely.
We are trying to wrap up here. I feel like we talked about all the Bonds. We talked about our favorites, our worsts. We talked about music.
But last thing, all right, Bond villains.
Ooh,
the henchmen. For me, the best one was always Odd Job.
Okay, Odd Job, best henchman. What about best main villain?
Oh, Blofeld, but in
which Blofeld?
The most recent one. What was his face?
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
I think, you know, in Inspector, you know, when he was revealed, and also how it was revealed how close he was in, you know, him and Bond were like brothers. And again, back to this really looking for the emotional side of things. You know, Bond had been orphaned, taken in by Blofeld's parents, and brought up like brothers. And then, you know, everything sort of sprung. So that's why I think this phase, this last sort of 4 or 5 movies have really, though, that is Bond. That is Ian Fleming's Bond. Everything else was window dressing. Up until this point, this is what Ian Fleming wrote. The rest of it was just other people's interpretations. So I think Daniel Craig and you know, the team that have built these sort of 4 or 5 movies, that was the real Bond. That was what, if you read the books, that is the real Bond.
So. What about Bond girl?
Well, Vesper Lynn.
Okay, I think. Yeah. For me, for best Bond villain henchman, I like Knick Knack from The Man with the Golden Gun and Scaramanga. Scaramanga has, it's Christopher Lee. It may not be the best Bond movie, but it's Christopher Lee.
It's Christopher Lee. So he made a good baddie. You know.
And I always tied that one. It felt very similar to Live and Let Die, not in a bad way, but it felt very like a spiritual sequel. It even had the sheriff in it for giggles. But favorite either Knick Knack or maybe Jaws. I did like Jaws as a kid just because he was big, and I mean I was a kid. When I saw them I was probably like 7, 8, 9. So he hit that sweet spot. Villain, I like Le Chiffre and maybe 006, Alec Trevelyan.
Yeah.
Or License to Kill, Robert Davi and Benicio del Toro. They were pretty good because they were brutal. And Bond girls would be Vesper Lynn, and then Barbara Bach from The Spy Who Loved Me. She was one of my favorites. And then I forgot her name from Thunderball.
And the other one is the woman from Octopussy, who was also in another film.
Man with the Golden Gun.
Man with the Golden Gun.
Maud Williams.
Different, yeah.
Yep, that's when they same thing with John Doe Baker. He was in License to Kill and Goldeneye. And then returning characters in the Bond franchise were always random. We were like, what was his face? Robbie Coltrane. He was in too.
Oh, Robbie Coltrane was brilliant.
Yeah, okay, why not? He'll be a Russian, sure. I heard the new Bond is a lady. I always like that line.
But Robbie Coltrane was a comedian.
Yeah.
But he really did do a good job, and you know, you didn't mind it being funny.
No.
Because it was Robbie Coltrane.
GoldenEye is my favorite. Like, I love it, and I can't watch the movie without thinking the video game, and vice versa.
And that reminds me, what who played his Irina, his girlfriend, Robbie Coltrane's girlfriend, when Bond comes
Anina.
in, she's on the karaoke.
I don't remember.
And it's a famous. She's a famous singer now.
Anina, take a hike. She's singing "Stand by Your Man." Oh, yeah. I don't know.
But I think she's actually quite a famous singer.
Oh,
we'll have to Google that later.
Well, all right, we're coming up on an hour here, so I want to wrap this up. Just a quick 2 minutes or so. Final thoughts on James Bond, and what do you want to see out of the future?
It's difficult. I mean, Daniel Craig is going to be a tough act to follow. I hope they stick to the same formula. It's going to be interesting whether they're going to revisit the books and remake it, or whether they're going to go in a completely new direction. I don't know. I hope they don't steer too much away from what has been a formula for 60 years that has really worked. and I hope they don't experiment with having like a female James Bond and what have you, because I just don't think that would work. There's enough sort of female leads doing sort of spy movies and what have you at the moment. We don't need James Bond should be James Bond.
Yeah.
I just think they've got to find the right actor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who that is. Maybe you would probably say Superman. What was his face? He's been talked about and done Witcher as well.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, yeah.
Cavill, yeah.
But they're saying he might be too old.
At this point, I think so, yeah. Maybe like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he couldn't be in shape to do it. Like, that's no shade
Oh,
against
he
him.
could
I
do
know
it,
he
but
could
like,
probably do it until his like 70s. I'm just saying, I don't know
it,
you need at least 5 movies, max 7. That's like
exactly.
I think,
So if let's say they do one every 2 years, that's 10. That's a 10-year stint.
and they haven't. That's not. That would be ideal, but that's not their track record. It's often very large. Like when they're on a roll, they can get 2 in a row in like less than a half a decade.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the finishing thoughts, I would say James Bond meant a lot because of video games. I came back to it because of tarot. I come back to it consistently, like throughout my life, and it's always I like to see how it fits into other interests I have. Like if I start getting into new music or this movie, and I'm like, oh wow, this came out behind James Bond in 1981 in the box office. I'm like, wow, like. Okay, it's kind of cool just because he's like a historical landmark. Think of Mickey Mouse, where's James Bond, where the Flintstones, where's. And I think what I hope for the future is if they do a plan out maybe 5 movies, 5 to 7. And if they were to do a TV series, maybe like 5 seasons, or they can like do it like a Netflix style series with that kind of budget, or like a Game of Thrones, HBO. Well, I know that's not even a thing anymore, but have that with Broccoli's blessing, and if anything, have him go through the training, beginning 007, going on the first mission, and then even each season could be one of the books, or if they want to be ideal, because I know they did good work with Jack Ryan. What was the other? Jack Reacher, even though I did like the Tom Cruise ones. But James Bond, I think, will continue regardless. He's definitely just. He's a cinema, he's a character, and, we all like it. Like the fact Billie Eilish did this, that she did the last one. You're like, okay, so it's like they're never too far out from where culture is. Even like what you said with Daniel Craig, like the whole last series felt like it was of its time, and it was good that it felt like it was leading the way. It wasn't more like following the pack. But Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
It's been my pleasure.
It's midnight. It's a little bit earlier than last time, so I know.
Yeah, I'm 3 hours ahead of where it was last time.
Yeah. So I hope you get to bed soon. I will hope everyone enjoyed their time, and we will probably be getting together again to talk about Alfred Hitchcock, I can imagine. I got to take a lot of notes, but this has been a blast.
Been a blast. Absolutely, Sappy.
See you, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.